completely different.
So I'm going to have a real talk with you guys. I feel like half the time I sound condescending and I'm just ranting. So you never know what's the true me. Because it's obvious that I don't go around in public. Well, sometimes I do and go, But it's my radio side. So I quit drinking. I drink a little bit here and there. But I quit drinking August 2022. I just was out of control. Not bad, but just bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't great. It wasn't awful, but it was bad. And I was turning 29. I was having a kind of a, I know older people laugh at it, but it was a little more than a quarter life crisis. It was like oh my God, my 20s are ending. So, got into Kava Kratom. I don't drink as much Kratom, but I love my Kava. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in the Kava community, which if you look up Kava and Kratom online, you would think it's the worst thing ever. Why? Because those douchebags over at Big Pharma are afraid that you get the same side effects as an over-the-counter med. So if you can't afford meds, it's all about the money, which I'm learning. So, in the Kava community, you meet a bunch of people. You can be hanging out with a crackhead. You can be hanging out with an influencer. You can be hanging out with someone that's facing criminal charges. And you can be hanging out with a millionaire and a professional athlete who thinks he's cool and embellishes his career. You never know who he might be hanging out with at Kava bars. And there was someone I met. I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to call him C. There's this guy named C who, if you're going to judge a book by its cover, which I try not to do because people do it to me, has a few face tattoos, he's skinny, he can be a little to himself, but when you get to know C, you realize that he's the biggest fucking teddy bear ever. And he calls everybody Bubba, and he's the greatest guy ever. So, we all make mistakes in life. And it's always usually involving alcohol. And C, about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a girl that was getting bothered at the bar. I don't know what city it was in. It doesn't matter. And because he would kind of go, he was in a biker gang. So he would go sometimes be in Oklahoma City. Like one time he told me there was a story. He blacked out and he woke up in Oklahoma City and was like, how the hell did I get here? Kind of reminds me of when Robin Williams was on Conan O'Brien's show like 15 years ago, and he said, how the hell did I get to Cleveland? When it was the Cleveland Clinic. Just kind of funny. Anywho. So, he has had a wild life. But there was a night, I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago, he was drinking a little too much, which he would admit, because he got sober and turned to Kava and Kratom and changed his life. But he was drinking a little too much, and there was a girl at the bar that was getting harassed, or something was happening where there was like a fight that was breaking out. So he wanted to save the day, so he grabbed a knife and he stabbed this person. And what pretty much happened was he grabbed the knife, he stabbed the person, and then he got arrested. He might have stabbed the person, but I know it was out of self-defense and it was out of protecting the girl's honor. So C gets faced with, I don't know, 4 or 5 charges. And he's facing 4.5 years in jail. So what happened was he ended up getting those 4.5 years in jail. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. C got his life together. C was, going to his job every day at a reputable smoke shop. He was having to walk there every day. He has a broken down body and he's only like 34 and he was having to wear his ankle monitor. And here's the biggest part about it that's absolute nonsense. Here's the biggest part about it that's absolute BS is he has a lot of health problems. So the poor guy, I would drive him to work and he would slip me some money. I'm like, whatever, bro, it's fine. But I would drive him to work because he was my boy. He still is my boy. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the judicial system failed him pretty much what happened was he kept going from judge to judge. He had a public defender who seemed like a really good public defender. And that's what pisses me off, is that if he had a lot of money, he probably would have got probation. But he had a public defender, and he seemed like a good public defender. And that public defender worked hard for C. But what happened, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, was there kept being a new judge over and over again. So one judge would be like, oh, you're doing good behavior, take off the ankle monitor. The next judge would be like, oh, we're going to push back the case. I kept pushing back the case. Well, then he got this new judge. I don't know if the judge just, like, at some point, if you keep pushing back judges and dates, drop the fucking case. At some point, if you don't even have the original judge to see the growth of the person, screw that, man. It's bullshit. So he ended up getting 4.5 years in prison. And my heart absolutely breaks for him. He's about 35, so he just lost his 30s. But to anybody out there in the kava community that knows C used to, when I recorded at a kava bar, I recorded my podcast at a kava bar for about a year. And he would be playing pool in the room next to where I was doing my podcast. And he always said, hey, Bob, you got talent. You're going to go far. He would promote my podcast. And that's not the only reason why I love C. But a lot of people in the kava and radio community try to throw me under the bus. So when there's someone who's nice to me, I appreciate it, C. C, you're a legend, dude. I know this is utter bullshit. And I hope somebody can somehow get this to him. C, I love you. You're going to get through this.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
It's time for Hoppe in the morning.
RyanHoppeRadio.com.
Happy Hour will be right back.
Whenever we're going outside, all I smell is poop.
In the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
The semen was so big.
Don't worry, Fresno. Happy Hour will be right back.